Okay, everybody, welcome back. It is heading into mid-August here in a couple of days, and we are back at it as usual on another lovely Thursday. Today, we've got a very rantable subject, the meeting epidemic, why everyone is busy and nothing gets done. One thing I'll say about that word epidemic is that the meeting thing seems to be an issue regardless of the size of the organization. I see people dissociated from the cost of their time in the solopreneur space, all the way up to the big numbers, board member, leather seat in the conference room version of it as well. It doesn't seem to matter how many zeros are at the back end of the business. Time is slowly slipping away and getting sucked out of your life by sitting down to have another chat, another conference call, or yet another Zoom, Teams meeting, whatever it is. So yeah, I think today we're going to kind of start unpacking how to look at effective communication, whether it's necessary to have anybody in the room, how many doodle polls do we really actually need, and how much stuff can be handled in a 30-second sidebar instead of a 30-minute calendar occasion. Yeah. Where would you like to start, Zach? All right, so yeah, for myself, there we go.
Yeah, that was weird. So I dropped off there very early.
Quick meeting.
I know. Well, as my grandpappy used to say, there's no such thing as a bad short meeting. So, but I think that the point that I heard you making is that there is this broad disconnect that people have when they're in a meeting about their time. And I wonder if it's a disconnect about the value of their time, or if it is that the price that they're willing to pay the price because they enjoy the social aspect of the meeting greater than the price of their time, the cost of their time.
Right. Yeah, that's a fair question. I guess if you're looking at it internally, that starts to unpack one thing, which is this a meeting or is it a team building exercise? Is it a meeting or is it a social event?
Well, I think that's a fair question, but sometimes it can be both, right? Think about how good it feels to work on a team where everyone is at the top of their game, and you actually have big hurdles you have to solve, and you step into a meeting and you're doing strategic planning for the next 3 months. You're doing financial reviews. You're doing like this big hairy sort of stuff that has to get done. It's what Gino Wickman calls the rocks. I think it's the rocks that you put into the container first. I think he borrowed that from Steve Covey. But point is that when you're in that and you're doing that together, there is a certain level of camaraderie that is built as well. And I think that it can be difficult if a meeting is done well. I think it can be difficult to separate the two.
Right. So, well, let's touch on that first. Is it necessary to separate them?
I don't think it should be. In fact, I think that good meeting culture, like you actually kind of look forward to the meeting because, yeah, we get to have the playful banter, but we also know why we're here and we're actually moving things forward about things that matter. I think that a lot of people don't do that. I think that a lot of people, they either are by the book, we've got to get this meeting done, or they just waste everybody's time going in circles because they overindulge on the social aspect and they find some BS reason to have a meeting. The Office is a great example of this. Michael Scott found every single reason under the sun to call people into the conference room, mostly because he's just a social guy and he needed that interaction. Like he thrived on that interaction, and he couldn't get it anywhere else because it's Michael Scott and he lacks social awareness. But
so do meetings have to have a point? How strict should the agenda be? And when, back to some of the work that we were kind of talking about previously with Rob, when is it fair to make the call as far as this is going on or off track?
So I think that meetings do need to have an agenda. I think that agendas matter. They keep you on track. That being said, when I would do meetings, when it was my responsibility, I would make someone the timekeeper, and I would say, okay, this is how much time we have on the agenda for this topic. Your responsibility is give me the 5 minute, give me the 1 minute. And then if we reach that 1 minute point and it feels like we're still not done, you have to ask me a question. Do we want to extend, or do we feel like we can move on? And then we have to pull time from somewhere else, because this is a strict 60-minute meeting. We're going to pull the time from another topic, or we're going to have to take this offline and do it virtually. And when I did that, I found the productivity of my meetings went way, way up. And it wasn't that we missed any sort of camaraderie, because people actually showed up to those meetings early to get the sort of, the buddy, hey, I'm going to razz Jacob about his Chinese manuscript in his back there, because I actually speak and read and write a little Chinese. And so we're gonna have a bonding moment over that. Well, I'm gonna show up early for that because I know I'm not gonna have time for that during the meeting, or I'm going to do it after the meeting. But either way, that still naturally is going to happen, especially as we're tackling these big, hairy problems. We're still gonna have jokes. We're still gonna do all of that stuff because people naturally do that.
Got it.
I feel like I didn't answer your question. I feel like I just kind of rambled for 2 minutes.
But it was a little bit of context. One of the things I've noticed with some of the people that, like, my mind tends to drift a little bit from the internal side of the organization, because I guess for me, I'm the one leading those calls with my team. Mm-hmm. And so stuff gets done on a cadence. And if there's nothing else to talk about, we're done, we leave, we go do our work. But the place that I notice it the most in my life are we call them referrals. There's a high enough volume of, hey, you should meet so-and-so, that, we don't know if it's a referral yet. It's an exploratory thing. And, I'm just thinking about some of the people that I've been interacting with this week alone. One fellow, it's 20 minutes. Like, that's all you get. It's tight, it's clean, it's simple, it's clear. And, it's true that extra 10 minutes, that's part of the natural calendar habit everybody else falls into, isn't spent building friendship, relationship, affinity. How's the weather? Do you like fishing? But they're still super productive, clean, clear conversations. Mm-hmm. I think combining that with a BAM fam of, like, do we have something else to cover? Then let's get it in the books right now. Mm-hmm. Actually creates a natural flow and you know things are moving forward, or the when is super clear as well, right? And that's something that we've started to systematize a lot more in terms of, after this conversation, are we meeting 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, or the quarter? And I've
Yeah.
gotten really clear with the people I'm meeting with about that now as well, right? Like, which of these choices? And I find that that clarity is very well received.
I I I agree with that. That's what I've experienced personally. The other thing that really helps is a stated purpose. So it's not just clarity on the cadence of the meeting, it's the stated purpose of the meeting. So everybody's going into that meeting knowing why are we actually meeting, so that we
Yeah,
can get in and get out. But I feel like a lot of times it's just like rambling sort of meetings. And that's when it turns into the, okay, this is just a team building exercise. And I have work that I have to do because I don't want to sit, pardon me, I don't want to sit here and just chat with the guy sitting next to me. That is not interesting to me.
right. So how do you focus on your productivity inside of a meeting? Like, are you the one that brings the agenda? Do you ask for it to be produced on both sides of the table beforehand? Where's the line?
So I had a very interesting upbringing. Um, I jokingly tell people that my dad was Mr. Spock and my mom was Mary Poppins. So you can imagine what kind of a childhood I had. um, but my grandfather was a very successful businessman, and he was doing a mission trip in New Zealand at the time. I was about 16, and on this we went to visit him on this mission trip. Um, and the thing that he was emphatic about teaching me was, we're going to have a meeting and you're going to lead it, Zach, and you're going to follow the agenda. And that was like, it was so funny to me, but it stuck with me, the importance of having an agenda. And so now if I'm meeting with someone, if I have never met with them before, I'll ask them what's the agenda, and like I'll really push to get a very clear agenda. If it's someone that I've met with before who I know is pretty good about not wasting my time, I'm going to ask them for an agenda, and I'm going to do a decent job of holding them accountable to that. To just say, okay, how much time are we really going to spend on this? Either way, if I'm not the one leading the meeting, I still have that expectation that they are bringing an agenda to that meeting. And I clarify that expectation, um, because maybe they didn't come prepared with an agenda initially, but then I say, okay, what's the agenda? Now they actually have to sit down and think about, why is what we are going to talk about worth, the time of the 6 people on my team, you know,
Mhm.
and what about this specific problem am I looking to resolve or to get clarity on, or to, uh, you know, draw other people's attention to? Like, all of a sudden, just because I asked the question, I call it priming the pump, just because I primed the pump with that question, now things are going to be a lot more productive. And it's basically what Jocko Willink calls leading up the command structure. Right, you're asking for what you need of the people directly above you in order to be most effective, and that's what this is. And so, yeah, I always bring an agenda, or I always ask for an agenda.
Got it. I like that a lot. Um, how successful are people at providing you with one?
um, let's just say this. I can gauge the quality of the meeting by whether or not I get an agenda in my inbox or in my chat. Um, if I'm having a meeting with someone, it's on my docket, and they say, "Hey, Here's the agenda. Great, it's going to be a good meeting. If I say, hey, can I get an agenda from you? And they say, a what now? Okay, this is we're going to be on the struggle bus today. But my Sudoku skills might get a boost. So, um, but yeah,
Beautiful.
I think that whether or not someone comes prepared to a meeting um, is a real clear indicator of how effective that meeting is going to go. And so, I'm not perfect at this. I'm not God's gift to business. In fact, this is probably one area where I could do a lot better, just in terms of thorough preparation before meetings, as just an attendee. Um, but I think that if everyone put in the effort to come prepared to a meeting, that would help expedite a meeting a lot as well. You'll find that a lot of meetings that you thought needed to take half an hour only take about 15 minutes.
Exactly. So in a situation like that, do you keep the overlong call time and then leave the space for socializing?
What I typically find is that you'll cover all the ground and then the meeting will wear down and you'll have one or two people who will start to get distracted.
Got it.
And that's kind of the signal, okay, the meeting's over. I'll give them maybe 5 to 10 minutes to kind of do the socializing. And then I'll say, hey, this has been a great meeting. Just want to give everybody a quick reminder, remind them of the expectation, of their assignments, of the due dates, right? Get very clear because 99.99% of all human interpersonal conflict comes from these violated expectations. So if we're very clear up front about what those expectations are, that should limit the amount that are being violated. And so at the end of the meeting, after they've had that socializing time, I bring them back to those expectations just to make sure that everybody's very clear. A lot of times I'll just say, hey, if Rob were on the call, I'd say, hey, Rob, just real quick, remind me what was your assignment? What was your due date? Oh, I needed to get you the Henderson report by 3 p.m. this afternoon. All right, perfect. This was my stuff. Jacob, what was your stuff? And then, everybody's back in the, okay, we're back in productive mode. This is the expectation now.
Got it. Nice and clean, super clear. And excuse me, a little bit of place for the human side of things still.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I used to be kind of a machine guy when it came to team leadership. And what I mean by that is I was like a machine. I was running things clockwork, like, you know what, screw your feelings. I don't care. Get to work. And then I had kind of an interesting epiphany reading my kids, of all things, the book Robin Hood, The Adventures of
Okay.
Robin Hood. Um, in that book, it's Robin Hood. It's not his band of merry men. It's his company of merry men. And then it connected with me. Oh yeah, company just means a group of people working
Right.
towards a shared goal. And that's when I started to humanize my approach to this a lot more. Because the people in Robin Hood's band, his company, um, they did what they did because he saw them as humans, right? All right, we just robbed from this rich tax collector. We're going to have a huge feast. We're going to bring all of these rich people in. We're going to have a big party. We're going to charge them admittance to this party. And part of that charging of admittance is going to be everything on their persons, their money, their clothes. They're going to get beggars' rags. We're going to send somebody off who was in those rags in very rich clothing now. And that's how this is going to go. And the people saw that and they really appreciated that he was recognizing the human aspect of that. And so I've found that as I've done more to recognize that humanity of my team, um, that they are far more productive.
Got it. we're getting close to time, but I did want to leave something out there for the small business solopreneur kind of thing. So how would you transfer these applications to the networking conversation?
Okay, this is very interesting. You're going in a different direction than I thought you would. I thought you were going to take it
Okay.
in the direction of how do you have meetings as a solopreneur when you don't have any employees?
Right.
And I think there's an interesting conversation to be had there about doing weekly sort of um, reflection and review. But how do you handle it with networking? Oh man, um, I think it's kind of the same rules. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Don't monopolize people's time. Short, sweet, to the point. Um, and just like in dating, let them off gently, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
honestly, okay, so it's time for Zach to get on his soapbox. I have a bit of a bugaboo right now about networking. I don't know that networking is very effective anymore because I think that everyone goes into that room and the way that they do it is they just see dollar signs over people's heads. Even if it's a virtual networking event, it's okay. So I see what Jacob does. I'm going to assign a dollar sign above his head. It's going to be $1, $2, or $3 signs, right?
Okay.
And that determines how I interact with him. It determines the level of effort I put into that conversation. It determines so much, and it doesn't allow for any actual business to get done. I've been in networking groups for like 5 years. I kid you not, I got $0 of revenue from 5 years of intense networking, like $0. And so maybe I was doing it wrong. I don't think I was, but I just look at that and I think networking is a huge lie. It's like going to a speed dating event and believing you're going to find your soulmate. The likelihood is you're going to walk out of there with a handful of popcorn shrimp and disappointment. Like it just it doesn't work, but we've bought this lie that all you have to do is speak to more people. And if you speak to more people and speak to the right people, well, I know, Jacob, I know that you're going to get business off of this. I just know it. I can feel it. Well, okay, how much money have you seen other people get from this? Well, they haven't gotten any yet, but just you got to talk to more people. Just trust me on this. And it's like, well, you know what? I don't think I will because the only one who's getting rich off of this is the actual person who's hosting the event. And even then, I sometimes wonder about that because they always seem like they're living paycheck to paycheck as well.
Right. Yeah, completely fair. I I really am a big fan of Richard Koch and his book Super Connect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what it does is it brings a clear agenda to networking, not because it gives you a method, not because it gives you an agenda, because it addresses the behavior of how to have conversations with people and get to the point, which is listen, we're probably not going to do business, but if I'm clear about it, I'm trying to reach through you to someone you might know. And here are the three things I can help you think of so you can give me a name now. Because I don't
Well,
trust you to bring this up later or remember it.
and I think that I don't know because if you think about it, how many times have you walked home from a networking event, taken that business card, and said, I'm going to call this person when I see these three characteristics. Like it never happens. It
No,
doesn't
it never
happen.
does. We get it done either immediately or not at all, is my point.
And
Like that's,
and I think that's fair. If you can get it done immediately, that's fine. But
yeah,
you have to do what's called breaking the other person's OODA loop. And for a lot of people, that can be distressing. right? Because
Yeah.
what you literally have to do is they're coming in expecting a certain performance, right? Because
Yes.
networking is at this point a highly choreographed dance that we all do. So
Yes.
they're expecting someone to come in and do this performance. You have to not only not do the performance, but to pull them out of the performance as well and have a human to human conversation. Now, how the hell do you do that in 5 minutes? You
It's
can't.
true.
You can't even do that in 20 minutes because they're going to continue to go back to the safety of the performance. You like so I'm sorry, I don't believe in networking anymore. And I hope that the methodology works for you. It sounds like it has at least gotten you some good referrals, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. I get it, and I completely agree. And I think, um, yeah, one of the things I say with what you're saying is that the mentality behind it has kind of broken.
It is. It's well, because again, it's a performance, right? I'm
Mhm.
coming in because w- I'm coming in because I want clients. I therefore believe that if I want clients, I have to perform a certain way in order to get you to give me my clients, give me
Yeah.
the people that I want. You're
Which
coming
is
in,
contrary, right? It's contrary
yeah,
because it's like I have an agenda, but my job is to pretend I don't.
exactly. And you're
Yeah.
coming in with the same agenda and the same performance. It's just like a job, right? A job interview. I go into a job
Mm.
interview, and the worst question anyone could ever ask is, tell me why you are interested in this job and this company. You cannot say, well, because I want a paycheck. I don't want my kids to starve to death. I'll tell you what, right? Like you can't tell them that. You have to come up with some BS answer about, well, I read your mission statement and I'm really excited about that. And I did a 3 hour deep dive into all of the different projects that you're working on. And I'll tell you, that Penske file, man, that Penske file is sure exciting. Like, no one knows what you're talking about. You're completely making it up. It's a performance. It's not real. And the people who break out of that performance in the interviews don't get the job either because
Right.
HR doesn't know how to put them into a box. And that's the
Right.
same thing that's happening in networking. And so you have to help these people, pull them out of that mentality of, I need to put you into one of these specific boxes that I expected to put people in when I first came to this networking event, but there's just not enough time to do that. And so, for me, it just, I think it becomes a situation where there is a level of diminishing return. And I'd just much rather focus on cold outreach or, paid advertising at that point, or doing more targeted networking, right? I think that one, I want to be clear that I'm not talking about like, hey, Jacob, I've looked at your network. I know that you work with these specific types of businesses, and I'm interested in getting connected with these specific people. That actually has some potential to work.
Mhm.
But just going to a networking event, like a blanket networking event,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Cool.
and so
No,
so
I'm,
I guess that's what I'm saying.
yeah, no, I'm glad we got into it. I wanted to touch on that stuff because it's such a continuous offer out there, right? If you're in the small business space, especially, but even in the mid-size, networking is, kind of touted as the be all end all of things and the new way forward.
It
And
is.
yeah,
And if you just have to think about it pragmatically and do what the scriptures say, which is test their fruit, right? By their fruit you shall know them. Well, look at the fruit. And I
yeah,
think that what you'll find is a lot of really angry customers who just churn. It's the same thing with internet coaches. There are good internet coaches. There are good internet coaches. In my opinion, they are few and far between. And if they are chasing the offer of the week, right, then you know to run away from them as fast as you possibly can, because all that coach is good at is sales.
Right.
So
That's fantastic. All right. Well, thank you for your time and your insights. And as the conversation goes forward with this, I felt that this is really an opportune time for me anyway. August is the time where I start planning the rest of the year, right? Like a lot of planning happens quarterly, but the way August falls in September, it's kind of like Q3, 4 is this compressed thing, and September, October, November is when it happens, and then it kind of tapers off for December as much as you have to do year end and that other sort of stuff.
well,
And
absolutely,
so,
because nothing gets done in November and December.
yeah. So those of you who are out there really thinking about how you want the rest of the year to go, this is the time. You've got a couple weeks to really think about the kind of actions you're going to take, and I think what we circled around today, how you're going to choose to spend your time and organize yourself both internally and externally to your business.
Excellent. Completely
Perfect.
agree.
Thank you.
Are we still on?